quality number 10, the qualities of a great leader. This is the law of connection. The law of connection is something that is so powerful. So um, it's tangible, it's intangible, it's it's surreal when you feel a connection with someone. And what's crazy is we can feel a connection with someone because we hug. We can feel a connection with someone because we're talking with each other. We can feel a connection over Zoom. We can feel a connection with someone over the phone without even talking to them. I can feel a connection with someone who is doing a video where I'm not even on a Zoom live with them. If they share themselves enough, they're vulnerable enough, and they're open enough, I am sitting there watching a YouTube video of someone that I'm trying to learn something from, and I'm getting emotional. And guys, you get emotional too. You may not always share it with tears. Some of you do, but we all share it in a different way. But that emotion where your feelings get super strong and powerful and it moves you inside. That's what I'm talking about. I'll have that when I'm watching someone who is teaching something so powerful and teaching from their heart something. And one of the ways to help this happen with people is when you teach something in the way that they're going, oh, how did they know me? Like, I feel like they're talking just to me. It's like they know me inside and out. That is what leaders do. So the law of connection is, it's to bring or to join things together, to hit it off, to be on the same wavelength. And establishing a connection with another person is vital in leadership. A CEO, which is what you are, who fails to emotionally connect with his people is on the road to failure, because we have to connect with others before we can expect them to follow. And how can we lead if no one's following? And one thing that John Maxwell says is leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. It's a beautiful, beautiful quote. I want you to write that down. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Now, whether we love it or we hate it, socializing is a part of life. Interacting with people, and there are different levels of socializing, and with what's going on in the world right now with COVID, sometimes interacting and social stuff is way different than what it used to be. But here are 8 things you can do to do a better job creating the law of creating connection with other people. Number 1, put your phone away. Put your phone away when you're talking to people. Don't answer it. I can't tell you how powerful it feels when you are in a setting with someone, your phone rings and you turn it off. You don't even look to see who it is. Let me tell you the biggest mistake business people make. I'm talking to you. Well, it'd be great if you turn the phone off, but sometimes we forget, right? Hello. I've had it go off when I'm, teaching you guys. But let's say we're talking and we're talking about whatever. My phone rings, and even if I don't answer it, but I look to see what it is, I'm like, okay, yeah. Guess what that just told them? Hold on. You're not what you're saying isn't as important as what's happening here. So let me check first and see how important this is. That's what you just told them. So put your phone away. Get in the habit of putting your phone away. Have your phone whatever times, but in the moment, you get rid of that dang thing. Number 2, ask open-ended questions, kind of like what I talked about. Get past what I call the shallow questions. When you first are talking to someone, there are certain questions that are shallow. Even when you do a strategy session or a coaching session or a mentoring session with someone that you meet with every week, there are certain shallow questions that you have at the beginning, and they're important. You don't just get in and go, what's the worst thing that happened to you this week? We don't do that. You need to ask the shallow questions. Hey, how was your week? Or you meet somebody new. You're like, hey, like let's say I'm on an airplane. Hey, where are you going? And they tell me, oh, is that your home, or are you going on vacation, or what? And you ask those few questions that I don't learn really anything about the person, but they're conversation starters, and it's inappropriate to go deeper yet. So you need to ask the shallow questions, but be aware those are shallow. You're not caring about the person really. You're just asking some basic generic questions. Get past those. Remember how I said, you guys will hear me say more than once, how you do the shallow questions, but listen so well that when you're listening, you can't help but ask more questions. I will be talking to someone. They're asking me about something with business, and we've got an agenda and we've got a thing that we're going to talk about. And Of course, you keep it appropriate because you need to manage your time well. But we'll, like, let's say I'm talking to someone on a plane. So it's not a strategy session where we need to stay on track. We're just on the plane. They find out what I do. They're asking me questions about business and those kinds of things. And I start to answer their question. And in answering the question, I'm thinking, well, in order to give you more detail about that, I need to know this about you or your business. So I ask them a question about their business, and they start telling me, well, this is what I do. And this is the last time, like, these are the sales I've been making. And when I do presentation, this is what happens. And instead of me going, okay, that's good to know, now let me get back to what I was going to tell you, I am often going, oh, you're kidding. So wait a minute. So you do this for your customers? And they're like, well, yeah. And I say, how did you get that idea? And they start telling me the idea. I'm like, are you, that was your idea? Do you realize how brilliant that is? Or whatever. Like, and then I want to, so show me what that looks like. Like, walk me through what happens when you do that. Because guess what? I want to learn. I want to learn too. And if I am really listening, that's what's happening. So ask open-ended questions. Number 3, smile. Enough said. Smile sometimes. 4, compliments, but be sincere. Don't ever say something you don't mean. Sometimes when I'm teaching this, I'll tell people, like, for example, you'll see someone's baby. And some people will say, oh, your baby's so cute. All babies are not cute. Okay. Maybe you think they are. That's great. But I don't always think babies are cute. The reality is, I have 2 of my babies were born totally cute. One was born totally ugly. And you can, like, some of you are going, oh, I can't believe you're saying that. But you want to know what? My kids know I'll tell them the truth. Then they go through their cute stages, and then they had ugly stages, and it's the truth. And around our home, ugly is not a bad thing. It just is. It's like saying you made a mistake, or you could have done something better, or the truth is what it is. And so, and it's okay. Guess what that teaches your kids? You don't have to be beautiful all the time. It's okay to not look amazing and be the best looking one in the room right now. That's all okay. And it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we can enjoy ourselves for whoever we are. So if somebody's baby is not cute, I am not going to lie to them and tell them their baby is cute. Now I'm going to say, wow, your baby, is not cute. I'm not going to say that. There are things we don't need to say, but I will say, oh my goodness, how sweet. Because our baby's sweet? Yes. Every baby I've ever seen is sweet. I can't think of one baby I didn't see that wasn't sweet. And, or they might, I always tell the truth. Now, find your way that compliments and that is honest. Be honest. Now some of you are still can't let go of the, you say that about babies, or oh my goodness, you say that about your kids or whatever. So it's okay. We all have our way of doing things, but I'll just tell you, when you're honest, people trust you. People absolutely trust you. And my kids still, they're grown and gone. They still come to me and say, Mom, what do you think about this? Or what about this? And they know that I will tell them the truth. And sometimes they'll laugh. They'll be like, I already know what you're going to say. So number 6, don't cross your arms when you're talking to people. But now keep in mind, there are moments when it's appropriate. For example, if I am talking to someone and I'm engaged, and if I sat here teaching you like this the whole time, doesn't feel very much like I'm involved with you, right? But I'm teaching like this. And let's say I'm talking to someone and they start telling me something bad that happened to them or a way someone treated them. I'm like, are you serious? I cannot believe that. So I'm not trying to fake I'm just doing whatever I feel in the moment, but I am in the moment and I am listening. And number 7, share stories about yourself. Share stories about yourself, even if people don't ask. Now, obviously, when you're on social media, those kinds of things, of course, you're going to share stories. You need to be sharing stories. If you're not, start doing it right now, because that's what lets people in. It helps them feel connected with you. But let's say that you're in a conversation. There are a lot of times I'm in a conversation, and because of what I do and because of the success that I've had, people are asking me a million questions about their business. They want to talk about their stuff, and I totally want to hear it. It's great. So very rarely do people ask me about myself. Very rarely. unless it's somebody who has achieved more than me and they are that role to me and they're helping me get better. And so it's interesting and it's fine. It's not hurtful or anything like that. It just is. But a lot of people aren't even cognizant of it. But I've learned, so I used to just think, okay, you know, they're getting their needs met and they have questions and they need this. But I've noticed that even when they don't ask, we're talking about something. Of course, I'm listening and I'm going through their stuff. It's all about them. But I'll still say, I'll share some story that was vulnerable for me. It might be in helping them learn their lesson, like the thing that they're trying to learn from me right then. Or it might be that I'm sharing a story that's personal that helps them feel connected to me. Like I'll say, oh my goodness, I remember like they're telling me that they're having a hard time thinking it's possible or something. And I'll listen to it for a while and I'll talk. And I don't want to share my story because I don't feel like that's really what they're wanting to hear right now. But I make myself do it, even though it doesn't feel like that's what I want to do in the moment right then. I'm thinking, you know, if they want to know, they'll ask. And we're talking about this, but you wouldn't believe what happens. And all of you are going to be going, well, duh, Teresa. But when I stop and go, oh my goodness, you know what? I remember one time when I was doing this with my business and da da da, and this happened. And I literally, I was in tears. I was in tears. And I told my husband, what am I thinking? I don't even know what I'm doing. And da da da, who do I think I am? And I'm telling them this. They didn't ask, but all of a sudden there's a stronger connection. And I've found that when I do get vulnerable and share myself with other people, then the things that they can learn from me become exponential because there's a connection. When there's a connection with someone, the learning is graduated to a different level. It's beautiful. So tell stories about yourself. Don't take over the conversation. Just share things that allow you to connect. Number 8, touch them. Touch them, not weird. Don't be weird. And I've had some people who touch, like they'll touch and go, you know that I care about you. Maybe that's your way and maybe that's appropriate for whatever your situation has been. In general, that's not necessarily appropriate. Touch in a way that is accepting, that is appropriate in the moment. And be careful if you're someone who's married, then be appropriate. I am very careful about how I do that. I travel a lot. My relationship with my husband is so important to me. And for anyone to act like, oh, well, that's not an issue for me. You are set for downfall. That is why there are so many unfaithful situations in the world today in relationships, because people act like that would never happen to them, or they might think it's no big deal. But I will tell you, my husband and I have this thing. We will never be alone with someone of the opposite sex. I don't go out to lunch with men for business, even though we're in a crowded restaurant. It's just too intimate. There are things that you do when you're dating someone that you don't want to mimic that when you're in a setting for business. It's inappropriate and it makes, you don't know what helps other people feel comfortable or not. So I take the lead on this because I am the leader and I make sure that any situation I'm in is cannot be construed in any weird way. I have a person that I was coaching in Korea, and I would fly out there, and it, kind of a big level leader. I was working with him, and I made sure my assistant always let them know that, you know, if they wanted to come pick me up at the airport, I can get a car or whatever, but they wanted to come pick me up, show me honor, which is a big thing in that culture. And so my assistant made sure they knew that, you know, I don't drive with anyone of the opposite sex. So I'm happy to get my own car, but if they want to pick me up, have him bring his wife or, you know, bring a colleague or whatever, that would be great. And so, and I do go in a taxi, I'm sitting in the back, but so several times he would come pick me up at the airport with his wife or with a colleague. And he kept trying to flirt with me all the time. Every time that I would go there, he would try to flirt with me. And I would keep it very appropriate, make sure that I was always with everyone. One time I flew there, he came to pick me up at the airport and he came by himself. And I knew he did it on purpose. And um, honor is a big thing there. And so the normal Teresa would have said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll take a taxi. But I felt in that moment, I thought it will be too demeaning for him. But I told him, oh, I don't ever go with anyone of the opposite sex. And he was very apologetic. And I said, I said, you know what, let's do this. I said, and I was showing him ultimate respect. And I said, let's do this. Let's go in the car, but I'll sit in the back. And then in the future, let's make sure, whatever. And so that's what we did. And he tried it again because, of course, I didn't set the clear boundary, but I felt in that moment that that's what I needed to do. And then the next time I came, he came again alone. And so I took a taxi. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, you are so kind. I just gave him accolade. Thank you for coming to get me. And, I talked about all, how much I appreciate him. And I said, but yeah, let me take a taxi and I'll meet you there. So I just totally did that. But then the rest of the time that I was with that him and his the people in his business, I did not act awkward or act like now things are funny. I I felt a little awkward, but I just acted extra kind to him, not flirting, keeping it totally appropriate, not undoing what I had just done by setting my boundary. But so touch is powerful. But I will be working with someone and like we're joking and they'll say something funny and I'll be like, sometimes I'll touch them on the shoulder and I'll say, I just want you to know that I really appreciate this. Or, but I'm very, very cognizant of the fact that there is a difference, a physiological difference between men and women. I don't care what your belief is about the kind of life people want to live. That is their choice, and that's fine. No judgment here. But physiologically, there is a difference. And so, for example, if you are a man attracted to a man or a woman attracted to a woman, whatever your situation is, be faithful to the person that you have committed to. Okay. And make sure you keep that in mind as you are, you know, including touch in the conversation. That includes handshakes, which nowadays might be an elbow pump because people aren't touching hands as much. But it can be a very beautiful, beautiful thing that creates connection.